So basically, like, you'd be designing schematic for dust collection panels, so it's pretty easy. The signing part, VFD programming, which is a variable frequency drive that allows us to change the speed of AC motors. Because the power coming in is fixed at 60 hertz, and it adjusts it so we can speed it up or slow it down, depending on what the job needs, or change. And then we do the programming for those panels as well.
There was something I wanted to ask. It's related to light
it's
physics.
It's the concept's the same.
Mr. Gray from the electronics lab noticed this phenomenon. I call it a puddle of that puddle of light
coming out of the door.
Yeah.
You don't have social distance or.
I just wanted to ask what exactly
I don't know how he
We're
wants
talking
it.
about this part right here.
Yes, that little, that part.
He has separate.
So, sorry, what's the question?
What's causing, is it just because it's more intense, the light's more intense in the classroom?
I would assume, I mean, you have,
I'm using my left.
No, usually.
because the more photons that are hitting your eye, get away from them.
Oh,
Yeah.
is this
It's-
not?
Yeah,
Yeah,
You
so
get
you have
to,
that.
you get to claim a block of 4 to yourself.
Okay.
Yeah, Alex.
We can just claim this whole half of the side if you want to say it right there.
Just remember, they are beneath you. Do not associate.
You don't have to tell
I
them
already
he
know.
believes it.
Yeah. His head can only get so big.
So the more photons that hit your eye, the brighter it's gonna seem, and so that would just have to be
Oh, Alex.
more light.
Rumble?
It's also possible,
Rumble? I'll play one game of Rumble. Never again.
because we don't view all
I
color
don't-
light the same. Of course it's white light.
I don't get it.
Yeah,
I would assume you have to,
Like, next,
to be
like, I got the
a
ball.
brighter light
Next thing I know,
than
punching.
the hallway.
Yeah.
yeah, I was
There's
just
no
curious
skill in
about
Rumble.
because
Yeah. I was just like.
Mr. Gray noticed it and
It's
he was,
literally on.
he didn't know what it was either.
I got to
He's in
Grand
the,
Champ 3 in Rumble.
His,
I'll never play it again.
he's in,
Once I get the house.
he
fixed
deals
up,
with
they are coming over and we're grilling out.
electronics, like
Okay.
5 volts or I think
Just
yeah.
interest.
small voltages,
Huh?
not like what you would get out of the socket.
Right, okay,
yes,
okay,
yeah.
So more,
As I told him. if
more
you're
battery
interested,
than
You can apply.
Yeah.
power system.
Great company. fine,
Well,
I can
lower
describe it
voltages
more
to be,
like I did with him.
I guess, more precise
Another
because
time, but we're looking for.
we
another
have done a
technician.
few
I
experiments
finished
with
my
mains
computer
voltage.
junior.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
By the way, what is your name?
It's Richard on the sheet. I go by Alex.
Ah, okay.
You still do the student,
Work study?
yeah.
Yeah.
I will say that especially for Alex and Aaron, when you sign your papers, please write Alex and Aaron. Whatever you want to be called, that's what you need to sign the papers by.
Okay.
A couple of years ago, I had a student for 2 different semesters, kept calling him by the name that was on the roster, and he signed all of his papers like that. And somewhere near the end of the 2nd semester, he said, I actually go by, and he gave me a different name.
Well, it's too late now.
Yeah.
Could have said that, last year.
Yeah,
So-
you should have said something earlier.
And there was a student, it was a high school student, but it was a student that I kept mispronouncing her name. And she told another faculty member who then told me. She was apparently afraid to tell me I was mispronouncing her name. Don't fear that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched some of your videos.
Okay. Epic, I think, is the word that probably leaps into your mind. And the special effects are just absolutely amazing. When you get into the content ones. Oh, I don't have many content ones posted for 133.
I just saw all I saw was that document with all the videos and the syllabus quiz.
Okay. In terms of the syllabus quiz, last year, pandemic has really warped my sense of time here. I think it was 2 falls ago, there was a student who said that she took that thing, trying to get 100%, which is what you're supposed to do. Took it like 15 times, and I'm going, all right, that's great if you have the time to do that, but if you get stuck, ask. The only thing is that it's written on the syllabus, you were to do it by the census date, which is the 28th, 21st?
21st, I think.
21st, okay.
I'm sure I'll get done by then.
Which one's
Thanks.
that?
Just looking for a trash can.
That's right behind you. Hiding. All right, so, and the person missing is Kong Gwen.
Oh, that,
Yeah.
I don't know where it is.
All right, I'm gonna pop over to the other classroom just in case I have had people miss signs on door. And then I'll be back and then we'll start the festivities.
Sounds
That
good.
sounds good.
Yeah, I walked up to the other classroom after having frantically checked Discord all the way up the stairs to make sure I was going to the right room. And I show up there and the lights are all off and I'm like, this is not the place to be.
Yeah.
But
This is
some
not
lady
the
in her
way.
office shouted to me. She
I
was
sent you a
like,
message.
huh?
I sent you a message.
Oh, have either one of y'all watched The Mandalorian?
The
A little
what?
bit of it.
What?
A little bit of it. I need to
What
watch
else?
the
This-
rest.
Watch the what?
Mandalorian.
Nah, I'm
I know,
not.
it's so good. I like it.
I haven't watched it. I don't
See,
know.
my mom's husband, he does phone calls for Disney Plus, so he gets the account for free.
Oh, nice.
So sorry about that.
That's it.
All right. Orientation, I did the video, so I don't have to do it now. But if you have any burning questions at the moment,
I didn't get through them all.
I would have been shocked if you had at this point. All right, so I'm guessing since you saw the list that access to the Blackboard site is,
Yes, it's
Doable.
up.
okay. A couple of years ago, they would unlock it in IT, but then there was something else I had to do in order for you to be able to actually see it. And so I'm still sort of paranoid about that.
Well, at least they streamlined it.
True. At least that part of it. They made other parts more difficult.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that's a bold statement.
Yeah, I'm still kind of frustrated about this payment thing. There was that scheduling conflict, and I think I still have to pay for this class like 400.
Yes.
Something bucks,
$420.
Yeah, I'm hoping I can get it paid today by just going into the cashier's office. I'm just frustrated that they couldn't say that I paid for it when they moved the schedule, or when they moved the class. So
Yeah, I actually did, I checked the roster on, I think Saturday was looking, and you were on the list. So,
Okay,
but,
good. Just
you know, who knows when people get dropped. All right, I'm looking at 2 of you wearing short sleeve shirts and I'm thinking, I'm still chilled.
Yeah, that's a bold
It
statement.
feels good in here. I was cold outside. I think it's because it's so cold outside and coming in here is just
Okay.
like that.
I think it's because I just have a lot of, blubber.
Oh.
Just insulate.
There are times that's definitely an advantage.
Yep.
All right, so let's do some basics here. What math level have all of you reached?
I
We've all done calculus.
Yeah, you
pre-calc.
look at calculus.
Or no, it's that weird calculus. It's not like Calc 1, but it's like,
Is that business calculus or short calculus?
It's called applied calculus.
yeah, applied calculus.
Yeah, I
Applied
took
calculus?
that applied calculus, but I think I had some trouble retaining. It was online, so I had trouble retaining it.
So I did y equals 3x squared.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I might need a refresher on that.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah, I'll need a refresher.
This is not a calculus-based course, but there are times when it's really convenient just to do, all right, we can go through the long non-calculus way of doing it, or hey, calculus does it in 3 steps. So there are times in which I will do it. If you don't remember calculus, that's fine. Then when we get to the calculus, if I do a calculus piece, then just sort of let it flow over you and you go, oh, okay, all right, I got some gist of what you're talking about. By the way, when something like this, you're taking the derivative, you multiply the exponent times the coefficient, and then you subtract 1 from that.
Oh, okay.
6x.
Oh, okay.
And then if you go in the other direction, I'm not quite sure, I assume that you cover a lot of calculus topics in there's basically a semester.
Yeah, and there was a summer class
Yeah,
there,
it's
so.
summer, yeah.
Is this notation?
It looks familiar.
Yeah, that's sort of ringing a bell.
All right, this is called an integral, and this is just an antiderivative, so you're reversing the process.
Yeah.
So that would be 3x squared, and then plus a constant. Because the derivative of a constant is 0. So,
Yeah, it's somewhat coming
All right.
back to me.
okay. That's all the math you need to know.
I'm not the most confident person in the world, though.
Yeah, we'll get through it somehow.
Yeah.
All right, also, what do you know in terms of vectors?
Oh,
One of the
you
other
can't.
directions.
I know it's a value in a direction,
Okay,
and a scalar is just a value.
all right, so that answers the other question I was gonna ask. What notation did you use for vectors?
You mean like the arrow?
Yeah.
Oh, it's just,
Yeah, that's the
Straight line with an
the
arrow.
variable with the arrow.
Okay. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
you're good with
yeah.
that as the vector symbol?
Yeah,
Okay,
Yeah, it's been a while since I took
the arrow.
physics. Mine transferred from Guilford Tech.
okay, okay. If you, at any point, I'm gonna make certain assumptions that you are all brilliant, and I can skip over steps, but if I skip over one, that you're a little bit
Fuzzy?
thank you, or foggy.
Foggy,
Those are the,
yes.
I was trying to combine 2 words there, unfortunately. Just stop me. I mean, it's a small class, and based upon, this is the 3rd time I've taught this course, and there's plenty of time to cover the material. So,
What about here?
also, they've scheduled this where we've got, the first half is class and the second half is lab. Lab's gonna show up when it shows up, and you'll have advanced warning. So, for example, we're gonna do a lab tomorrow.
Wednesday.
Oh, yes. Thank you for translating. We're gonna do a lab on Wednesday, and what I would like you to do is, when you go into the course website, Blackboard site, click on the labs link, and there should be one showing that says, I think, Hooke's Law. So, I would like you to have that printed out by the time you come into class on Wednesday. If you have printer issues, and it happens, we'll deal with that as it comes up.
Okay.
Alright. And all of you have had the applied calculus? Is that it?
Yeah, I have.
You were very quiet, I just wanted to make sure. And if you had Calc 1?
Applied calculus was our last math
Okay.
class that we had.
I mean, you might have done it in high school or.
Oh, you're right, yeah, I'm sorry.
I've
Yeah.
taken a calculus class, like, yeah, it was Calc 1, at a different school.
Okay, alright,
I took pre-cal at Forsyth Tech, Guilford Tech.
okay. Yeah, I'm trusting all of you that pre-cal trig and pre-cal algebra.
Yeah, I was here for the early college program, then I went to Guilford Tech
Oh,
for
okay.
the mechatronics, but I had some trouble finding a job, so now I'm back here doing electronics engineering. Tech.
Welcome back.
Thanks.
Also, it is such a lovely time to exist here. Because we are wearing masks, things are a little bit muffled. I do have a silicone cage, not really the right word. There, I have something underneath my mask, and I sound better than without it. However, yeah. However, I also have tinnitus. I'm over 50 years old, and so there are times I'm not going to understand what you're saying. I mean, just speak clearly, I'm good. Probably closing that door is going to help. And also, yeah, just speak clearly, and I'm good. Although it is a nice excuse with my wife of, I didn't hear what you were saying. Anyone married in here?
I'm getting married in May.
Ah, congratulations.
Congrats.
And did you raise your hand or you pointed your
raised
hand?
mine.
Okay. Just so you know, after being married for 20 years, you don't have to listen to her anymore.
Okay.
So something to shoot for.
I'll write that in my book.
Yeah. I got it from very good authority. So let's start out with Hooke's Law. I think I put down a green, pick up a green. This is chapter 13. So we're basically doing 13 and 14, and then 21 and 22. Then we have our first test, and then we'll jump into chapters 33, and I think it's 33 onwards after that. You've all had Physics 131 or equivalent. So any of you remember Hooke's Law?
I do not.
I remember doing it in, I don't remember doing it in mechanics. I remember doing it in the applied calculus.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you remember besides having done it?
It's some, granted, my memory isn't the best, but it's like something to do with springs,
Yes, okay.
like a spring constant.
It's a spring constant.
Yeah.
Okay, there is the spring constant. We're piecing it together.
Yeah.
That's about all. I
That's it.
It's the force applied by the spring is spring constant times X.
And what is X? Or S? Do you say S or X?
I said X,
Okay.
but I just remember it's like F equals KX.
Okay, that's the gist of it. We're gonna slightly more detail.
Right.
First off, vector subvector. Now the X versus the delta X, some textbooks will drop the delta, and you're just supposed to know. But this is the force from, and it's not necessarily a spring. Spring is the classic example. One of the reasons I brought a slinky in here, there's another thing I'm doing with a slinky, but force from the elastic material. Spring constant, you're absolutely right on that one.
Better.
Hey, pick a block of 4. Or 4 chairs. In other words, don't sit near the riffraff. Yep. All right, that works for me. Oh, by the way, if you haven't seen the humor video, the one where I explain my sense of humor,
Oh, I didn't get to that.
yeah, I've made comments like they are beneath, like to Richard that they were beneath him, and then I then referred to all 4 of you as riffraff. I apologize if you're taking this as an insult. I usually don't get into the familiar insults quite as early as I have just done. So if you needed a little bit more warm up to that, I apologize. So
I think we can roll with the
That's
punches.
exactly all right.
Yeah,
Okay.
I can at least.
my favorite method of humor is puns.
I tend to go more for sarcastic humor, which not everyone gets.
Fair enough.
However,
Sometimes I'll play along with it. But,
and there are people who don't catch sarcasm, so they take everything at face value. So that's just.
sometimes it's happened with me. I'll be sure to keep that in mind.
Yeah. And as you'll get to, if I do something like that, so let's say that you're so far rolling with it when I refer to you as riffraff. But then you're coming in with a day that it's just, the day sucks. And Mike doing something like that is just too much, then please just go, not today. So.
Right, I'll be sure to keep that in mind.
Yeah. I usually insult chemistry quite a bit, and I did do a chemical engineer insult to a future chemical engineer, and it was not the right day to do that. I mean, most days it was fine with her, but that day was not a good day for her.
Oh.
So, and she let me know. That's good. All right, so now actually the content again. Oh, actually, one more thing before content, and it's pronounced Kong?
Yes, Kong.
Kong.
Yes.
Okay.
Kong.
And in terms of lateness, obviously, just Kong today, but if you're gonna be late on a regular basis, just give me a heads up. If it's a one-off thing, no problem. So, I guess the main thing that you missed, besides just absolutely spectacular conversation, was for tomorrow, you're gonna be doing the first lab. So go onto the Blackboard site and under labs, and there should be Hooke's Law Lab, and print that out before you come in.
Okay, got it.
If you've got printer issues, then just let me know.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so, I assume also that you've had applied calculus.
Calculus. I already have.
Sorry?
I already have it.
You already have it, okay. All right, so Hooke's Law, and then this right here is displacement from equilibrium. All right, so again, stretching back into those memories, what is equilibrium?
Where everything stays constant.
Ooh, that's a bit too extreme.
Oh,
Not everything.
A starting point never change. Original point. A starting point, but it cannot be changed.
The starting point cannot be changed.
It's a fixed point, right?
All right, you also missed the part about my having hearing difficulties. All right. That's probably good right there.
It's a fixed point.
A fixed point.
Yes.
Usually there is a fixed point where there is equilibrium, but that doesn't tell me what equilibrium is.
In this case, it's the point where all forces are equal, so the object doesn't move.
Ooh. You started out okay, and then suddenly you just veered off into the classic mistake.
Oh, where its motion isn't changing.
Its motion is not changing?
Yeah, so it might be moving, but there's no net force acting on it.
Okay, so
You're right.
no net force acting on it is a little bit different than forces are equal.
Yeah.
So let's first address that one, and then we'll get to the second piece. All right, so forces are equal. So what do you know about a force?
It has a magnitude in the direction.
Absolutely. So if I have a 5 Newton force going to the right, what is another force that is equal to it?
5 newtons going to the left.
Ooh,
To the right.
to the right.
Oh,
Forces that are equal will have the same magnitude and direction. Those will not balance out to give us, they will not cancel each other out.
oh, that's what you were getting at.
Yeah. So In order to, so that, and it's nitpicking language, I knew what you meant. But forces, in order to cancel each other out, you need something going in the opposite direction to cancel them out. All right, so one condition for equilibrium is that the total force is 0. The vector symbol over the 0 is it's a math thing. Technically, if I have a vector on the left-hand side of the equal sign, I need a vector on the right-hand side. It's known as a 0 vector. And vectors have a direction, and so the direction of a 0 vector is whatever you want it to be. All right, so if the total force is 0, what else has to be true? Besides, it's an equilibrium.
There's no acceleration,
And why do you say that?
because mass is a constant value, so there's gonna be some mass.
All right, so there's going to be some mass, I heard.
So, like, if force is mass times acceleration, if
There we go.
force is 0, then acceleration is 0.
Otherwise known as?
Speed in any direction.
No, I'm looking for the equation.
I don't know the name of it, I just,
Newton's,
The first Newton. The first Newton law.
Not first.
Second law.
Yes. Newton's second law.
yeah, some of this stuff I've forgotten.
Yeah, and that's part of what we're doing right now is dusting off the cobwebs. Which I will abbreviate as just N2L, Newton's second law. My predecessor used that, and I thought, well, that's really convenient, so I'm going for it. All right, so if it's an equilibrium, acceleration is 0. Units. What are the appropriate units for acceleration?
Meters per second squared.
Okay. That's the one that we will be using most. What about in our unit system? What would be standard in the US customary?
feet per second squared. I would say feet per second squared.
Yep. All right. Now, if acceleration is 0, what else has to be true?
Oh,
The velocity is constant.
yeah.
Otherwise, change in velocity is 0 meters per second. All right, so equilibrium means that if all three of these things are true, if one of these is true, the other two are true. So these sort of go together. So in the case of a spring, and so I want to point out also, this we're not saying the velocity is 0, we're saying the change in velocity is 0. So if velocity is 0, so if it's an equilibrium and the velocity is 0, this is static equilibrium. So we are putting the condition of equilibrium here. Static equilibrium. If the velocity is not 0, then it's dynamic equilibrium. One other bit is that I actually taught elementary school for a year, and I made sure I wrote very neatly. And then when I stopped teaching elementary school, I thought, I don't have to strain over how I write anymore. But apparently that wasn't a good decision on my part. If you can't read my handwriting, please let me know. I've also had students in the past who have difficulty with some colors. So if you fall in that boat, I will occasionally forget, but I will try to write in colors that you can see. So. And if, you be you, But I also find it interesting that only 2 of the 5 of you are taking notes. That-
Oh,
that's your
I
style.
have to.
Yeah, I do too. I always find it, I had a roommate though who never took notes.
I'm a very visual person.
I have,
Yeah,
So if I
I've
see
been
something
sporting.
or if I hear something, I can
Okay.
be able to remember it.
I just take notes to try and help with learning, because that's actually something I've had a habit of doing, and then I learned that it actually works when
Okay.
I'm in when I took my psychology course here.
Okay. I usually did it to stay awake, but that was me.
I already take
That's
this,
that's actually a good idea too.
I already take this class a long time ago, so I just want solid knowledge.
Okay.
So it's not, I don't know how to get a note.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it was not meant to be a criticism or you needed to justify yourself, but sometimes I've had students, when I say that comment, it comes across like, oh, I forgot to. So just want to make sure you're doing what you need to do. All right, so why the minus sign? I don't think your textbook has the minus sign on it.
If you are stretching it or contracting it, or compressing it, I guess.
You going?
Because then the displacement is gonna be either negative or positive.
The force is gonna be the opposite.
Right.
All right, so I've got a slinky right here.
Mhm.
Got my spring, my close enough to elastic material. And assuming that equilibrium is somewhere around there, it's not, my hand's not that still. So if I pull it down like this, what is my displacement?
Displacement is that way, whatever the distance is.
Okay, which way is the force that the spring is exerting on my hand?
The opposite.
Yeah, so I assume that's what you were going for, but didn't quite hear it. So, by the way, I pull this thing down, displacement positive or negative?
Negative.
Why?
Because it's losing compression, right? Is
Oh,
it?
nope, not for that reason.
Because it's down.
Not for that reason.
Because it's against it's the opposite direction of the force that's acting on it.
Then why would the force be positive?
I don't know.
It's a much simpler answer.
Because we decided.
See?
Because we decided that it'd be negative.
Yes, because, well, I guess, sorry, I'm still running names. I think Aaron, you're the first one to.
Yeah,
Aaron?
so.
Yeah, because Aaron said so. Now, we can expand this slightly. Let's just, let's do a
That's here.
quick plug and chug.